Confronting failure, a person stands at a crossroads where several distinct inner attitudes are possible. The mind map above lays out these responses as branching paths that all begin from the same root experience. Things are not going well, and life seems to be closing in. From that shared starting point of failure, the individual can move toward despair, resentment, or responsibility. Each path represents a coherent way of interpreting suffering and acting in response to it. And which one becomes real depends on the stance the person chooses to adopt. One major branch is the path of despair. On this path, the individual interprets failure as final and absolute, a verdict on their worth and on the meaning of existence itself. The phrase "curse God and die" captures this stance starkly. It is a decision to reject meaning, goodness, and even the possibility of redemption, and to answer suffering with nihilism rather than with struggle. Instead of seeing pain as something to be integrated or transcended, this attitude treats it as proof that reality is fundamentally hostile or pointless. The despairing person, in effect, gives up not only on goals, but on the very project of living with integrity. Another destructive branch is the path of resentment, symbolized in the mind map as Cain's descent. Here, the person responds to failure by blaming others and external circumstances, rather than examining personal responsibility. This begins with a subtle shift. The pain of failure is attributed entirely to the unfairness of the world, the malice of other people, or the cruelty of fate. Over time, that blame hardens into bitterness and resentment. The inner narrative becomes one of being perpetually wronged, which can justify increasingly hostile attitudes. In its extreme form, this resentment can become murderous or even genocidal in imagination or action, because the other is seen as the obstacle that must be removed for justice or relief to be achieved. What starts as disappointment transitions into a moral and emotional corruption, in which hatred feels righteous and destructive impulses feel justified. In sharp contrast stands the constructive path of responsibility. On this branch, the same experience of failure is interpreted not as a final condemnation, but as feedback. The person begins by taking responsibility, which does not mean accepting blame for everything, but honestly acknowledging the parts of the situation that were within personal control. This leads naturally to learning, asking what went wrong, what could have been done differently, and what skills, habits, or perspectives are missing. From that learning follows change. The individual adjusts behavior, beliefs, or strategies, treating failure as an instructor rather than as an executioner. In this way, failure becomes a starting point for growth, transforming pain into a resource for future strength, rather than a wound that festers. Underlying all these branches is a key insight. Each of these paths is a live option in response to suffering. The same external event, plans collapsing, relationships failing, opportunities disappearing, can lead to despair, resentment, or responsibility. None of these outcomes is mechanically guaranteed. They are shaped by inner choices, interpretations, and repeated micro-decisions. The mind map structure makes this vivid by placing all responses side by side, emerging from the same root. It emphasizes that while failure may not be chosen, the stance adopted toward failure matters immensely. In that sense, the crucial drama of a life in crisis does not occur only in external events, but in the heart and mind where these branching attitudes are weighed and finally chosen.